why you believe that climate change is not an emergency.
Okay, because they're wrong. The reason that they are wrong is because all of these studies are done in the absence of mitigating measures. They range from sort of the mild, like 1.5 degrees Celsius, all the way up to the not very mild, like 4 degrees Celsius, again, over the course of the century. Whenever you read the IPCC reports, which I have, when you read those reports, they say in them that they have very low confidence that some of the more catastrophic sort of predictions are going to occur. When people suggest that there is not going to be any sort of mitigation measures, this is wrong, or adaptation. So there's two ways you can deal with it. One is mitigation, which is we all stop driving cars, we stop using electricity, we don't have kids anymore, right? We really cut down on our carbon usage. It's very easy for those of us who live in extraordinarily prosperous societies to say, you know what, I'm cutting down my carbon emissions a little bit because we live in very prosperous societies. Carbon-based energy is by far the most efficient form of energy on the planet, and it's worthwhile to notice that people who are living in developing or undeveloped countries, those people are still, in large part, burning things like dung for fuel, which is not only carbon intensive, but also a horrifying way to live. And telling those people you can't use carbon-based energy is a mistake. In order for us to take the mitigation measures that would be necessary in order to dramatically lower the trajectory of global climate change, you'd have to get China to sign on, which they will not. You'd have to get India to sign on, which they will not. Those are the two largest carbon-based emitters on planet Earth, and we live in a geopolitical world in which a carbon emission from China counts the same as a carbon emission from the United States. Again, this doesn't mean there's nothing we can do. It means what we ought to be doing is the thing that will prevent the 83 million deaths, which is why I'm very confident it will prevent the 83 million deaths, adaptation. This means, for example, that we build seawalls, geoengineering, which is a methodology that's being explored largely in some of the northern European countries. These sorts of solutions are things we should be pursuing. They're a lot easier to do because technology is a lot easier to do than anything remotely approaching a global carbon tax, which will, number one, be unsuccessful, and two, will not mitigate the effects on the climate nearly as much as you're talking about. Human beings are great at adaptation, and we suck at mitigation. When you see all these maps, and it's like, this area will be flooded, and all those people will be dead. No, because they won't be living there. Because as it turns out, when the tide rises, people move inland. This is what has been happening throughout human history. Not a huge number of people were killed, presumably, when the land bridge between Russia and Alaska that from which Sarah Palin could see, right? When that land bridge ended up being covered up in water, there weren't tens of thousands of people who died in that because it took thousands of years for that to be covered up by water. Slow-moving crises are not crises, they're problems, not emergencies.